Welcome to episode 28 of the Fatal Vision podcast. This is your co-host, James McGinnis, speaking. And we've got also the pleasure of Billy Glidden. You here? Billy, you coming? Can you hear me?
Hey man, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just good.
All right, no,
Crystal,
just
crystal,
good.
crystal clear.
Good man.
Uh, yeah, dude. So we're sitting here. It's a Friday night. It's an atypical recording night for us. So it's pretty wild stuff.
Yeah, I mean you can hear that I'm coughing. This has been a difficult week for me. I've been quite ill. Fever, aches, chills, coughs, sinus pressure, and I can't tell you how grateful I am to be on the mend and to have a chance to finish part one of Fatal Vision tonight, man.
Have you had a Corvid test?
No,
I know they probably don't. You don't need that. They don't even offer those anymore. Never mind.
I
Sorry,
don't,
we're,
I don't
we're
think they're
getting.
counting.
Yeah.
Don't be veering into
No, no, I wouldn't
topical.
want. I'm not veering. But I want to say that the power of prayer is remarkable because I know a lot of you pray for Billy just out of habit, and he probably cut his illness into half as long as it would have been otherwise if you weren't praying for him, just because you're praying for him because he's part of the podcast. So,
Yeah, man. Well, do you have any updates for our audience about what you've been up to?
just little old me.
Anything you've been thinking about working on?
Is it a lead? Is it supposed to be a lead into something? Because I
No,
got to tell
no.
you, I'm coming up with a complete blank here. You know, Billy had a nightmare um
Oh
last
yeah.
night that Trump, excuse me, I won't say the name, but that McDonald was going to receive a commutation or a pardon, and everyone was
Yeah.
really excited about it. It was pretty
Yeah, I
disturbing.
can I can share a bit about that.
Yeah, if you want to go in,
In
yeah, sort of
I
color
woke
us.
I woke up this morning in a panic because I had a dream last night. I was at a house party and there were people I knew there from different phases of my life. And somehow it became clear that the occasion was to celebrate the release from prison of Jeffrey MacDonald. But then somehow MacDonald was already there at the party, like he'd been allowed to come to the party for the countdown to the pardon. And Catherine MacDonald was there. And I remember looking at my friends who were all delighted and becoming filled with rage. And I started screaming at some people about the evidence, like, ask him about the fucking pajama fibers, things like that.
Mhm.
Um, and then there was a portion of the party where we were all supposed to be recording video testimonials in support of Jeff. And they're like, oh, come on, Billy, just do one. What's the big deal?
Mm.
Yeah. So I know hearing about other people's dreams is kind of a drag, but
No, well, I don't consider it a dream when it's about McDonald. It's prophetic and powerful, and you know, it's very important. And I do want to know if you did interact with him at all in the dream, or you just saw him from a distance. Was he kind of being
from
like
from a
protective?
distance, he looked really decrepit in the dream.
Yeah, that's that's important. Well, so
Yeah.
yeah, obviously I woke up today hearing, and that was the first news I got was that Billy had this dream, and I was like, oh my God. That's the first thing I said is today's the day. But here we are recording. He's still safe and sound in Cumberland,
Yeah.
Maryland.
Yeah, let
Uh,
us hope the dream is not prophetic, but
no.
it is interesting how this case kind of makes its way into you.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
and
I know your dad had many dreams about
well, yeah, there it's in you
Jeff.
said other people's dreams are a drag, but Joe is you took the incredibly courageous choice of putting his own dream of Colette into the final section of the book. And Jeff's legendary lack of reaction to the dream.
Well, I like
Um,
Dream Talk. I just have had bad
yeah.
experiences. One time I was telling my boy about a dream that I thought was like a spiritual visitation, but before I could tell him the substance of the dream, so he would know that it had great
Huh.
spiritual weight, he was like, "Oh my God, man! Well, Jim Gaffigan has this amazing joke about." Whenever somebody starts to tell me about their dream, I ask them to email it to me so that I can delete it. And then I was like, and then I
Yeah.
proceeded to tell him about a dream where like my dead father came to me and told me he was okay. And anyway,
Uh,
so I've
yeah,
had a
that's
bit of
not good,
trauma.
man. Yeah, I think you're still recovering from that, but you're not in a place here where people are gonna take shots at you for having the gift of prophecy
Well,
in your
let us
dream
hope it's
life.
not. Let us hope it's not prophecy. But
Well, but as we know from our extensive biblical studies, many of the prophets' worst visions didn't come to pass.
right, right, it's
And
true.
that doesn't make them not prophets at all. Quite the opposite.
Yeah,
So
there's an evil spirit at work for sure.
yeah, and I think by you announcing your prophetic visions, um, it's shining a light on the demonic warfare going on to get MacDonald free before his heart gives out, or kidneys, or whatever the fuck it is. Um,
You mean Heart Miles? Or is that the
oh
demonic
yeah, I
thing?
know, yeah. Oh, that's a double entendre.
Yeah.
Uh, Hart Miles gives out. No, he's not giving out. You've seen him on Greg Kelly. He's in his fucking prime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so we're up against it. We're up against it because or you realize today how devastated you would be if he gets out before he dies.
Yeah. I still run into I think like the thing about me screaming at my friends in the dream, I think I have a lot of discussions with friends about things where I've thought about every aspect and they haven't because why would they? It's like whatever the issue happens to be. And so I think there's this part of me that really needs to be understood. Like, hey, like my friend who finished Fatal Vision recently, he's still only like 98% sure he's guilty.
All right, now you're making me mad. So I can see how this might have worked its way into your deepest subconscious fears about friends betraying you with the dumbest t opinions possible about this case, and sort of having it turn into this extreme, absurd charade where everybody's celebrating it and counting down.
Woo!
Yeah, like it's a fucking New Year's party or something. Um, yeah,
I didn't
but
mean to
it's all
hurt you,
pretty.
man. I didn't mean to hurt
No, no, no. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know. I know who you're talking about. I don't know him. I think I met him once, but I know what he means to you, and because he means something to you, he means something to me. And so to have someone say he's 98%, that's fucking that is huge. That is a huge betrayal.
you.
Because you come out of Fatal Vision 98% sure, then you move on to the other literature, the most the canon Amazon suggested,
I don't think
and
he will.
you buy Malcolm and Morris with it,
I don't think
uh,
that's gonna
and
happen.
He'll just go on and live his life like this never happened.
Look,
That's probably
I think it's like that discussion in the Facebook group today about, oh, I'm on the fence. There's a lot of interesting questions, you know.
so he really just skimmed it. Like maybe he read every sentence, but he didn't really read it.
I
How
don't
could you
know.
possibly?
I could follow up with him about it.
No, we can leave. I don't want to hear anything else because
Okay, okay.
at this point, it's already, it's not even an active thing in his mind. It's just this memory of reading a book and um,
Hey, he read
it's
the whole
being,
book.
he read the whole book, but now it's going to be coming back to him through the prism of his own memories, and it'll go down to 97, 96, 95. The more time goes on. We're living in the book. We don't read the book and just remember it.
I make no separation between my life day to day and the book.
No, and no one else should either. It's the whole point of why we're here and why we do what we do. And on that note, I will say that this is a
Yeah.
fucking huge night, isn't it?
This is a
Because
huge night, man.
this is this is a season finale.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna have
Or
to figure out how to actually convey that in
and
the
you're
Apple Spotify. Yeah, how do I actually break it up into seasons?
well,
But
we
I'm
won't have
sure
to
I
do
can.
anything until we won't have to do it until the next episode, and
Okay.
maybe we can drag it out. Like a lot of podcasts will say this is the end of the season, and then they'll like tack on a bunch of bullshit like bonus episodes or Q listener questions. We could do like three listener question sections where we just
Well,
sit here
tonight
and
you told me tonight you bumped into one of our fans out on the town, and
out on the town. Yeah, in Amherst, Mass. Yeah, I ran into our boy Scott.
Scott,
Uh, yeah, and
and he's asking for the bonus content.
he says he's been hearing about it for so long. He's you know the premium content. Um,
Well, we're gonna do the episode where you read your dad's emails on air
yeah,
for six
that'll be
hours straight.
fascinating. Yeah, that's more of like a OnlyFans type deal. Like that's where you get it. If you donate cash gifts, you'll be entered into a raffle where you might be invited to a private server where I'll read my dad's emails on the air.
Now, our listeners might want to know this, because if you've been with us for a long time, you've heard about all the traveling I've done.
Oh yeah,
Like if you go back to our earliest episodes, I'm on the road quite a bit,
yeah.
and I shared some anecdotes about a trip to Hampton Beach,
Oh shit.
and to show you how long we've been doing this. This morning, as I came to in a NyQuil stupor, I took a phone call from my mom, who invited me back up to Hampton Beach. And then my sister texted me to let me know that they had made plans to hit up a water park. So
So we are there. We are into
we are in there. It happened.
so part one took a year of our lot to record.
Yeah, just
Um,
about. Yeah.
there was a lot of breaks before we started pushing it out into January of this year. But yeah, who knows how long it'll take. Let's generously assume we'll all be doing this for another 4 years. Um, you know, at a minimum. Uh, so it's the long haul. We're in no hurry. Like Rebner said, we've been at this for 1 year. We're gonna stick it four more, and we're in no hurry to wrap this one up.
No, no, I'm in no hurry at all. So, I do want to give a shout out before we get going to
Mm,
a new 5-star review that
yeah.
came
Oh,
in.
by the yeah, no, we wanted to provide some context here that last episode we made a sort of a grovel or a plea on the air for more positive reviews because and you guys showed up. You fucking showed up big time.
Well, some people. hit us with 1-star reviews without typing
Well,
anything.
one human being, we can assume it's a human, maybe it's a bot,
Probably a bot.
tagged us with a 1-star review with no comment. But
This guy from
uh,
England, I think he's from England. He talked about how he's just going to piddle,
yeah, a lot of inside jokes toward our to the way we,
crushing
yeah,
it. Dean
yes,
Chamberlain reference. Thank you, Tennis and Thornberry for the love.
yeah, that made our day.
We appreciate you. And he said he or she said can't wait till the Blind Faith podcast. So that'll be probably 5 6 years out.
Yeah, yeah. Let's assume it's probably going to be in the 2030s by then. Um,
But just stay with us.
yeah, it's a long haul and it's worth every penny that it's
Yeah,
going to cost you. Um, the
we appreciate you. And
I also wanted to give a shout outs to the everyone who showed up on our YouTube page, Dottie and our girl out in Michigan, um,
was that
showing up in the
Karen?
comments. Was that her name?
There's a Karen who
Yeah, that was it. That was Karen.
says a
She
lot of
says, "We
very
love
nice
you out in
things.
Michigan." So people are showing up in the YouTube comments, people are showing up on the Apple comments, and the tide has turned, you know. That's a fucking fact. And Scott did confront me when I did see him. He said that he heard me have a meltdown on the air about the 1-star review last week, and I said that's the beauty of live podcasting is, we show up to the microphone and we bleed on it.
Karen doesn't live in Michigan, man. It's someone else.
Oh shit. All right.
Yeah. But yeah, we appreciate you guys in the group. We'll explain how to put the 5 stars on if you have Apple or Spotify. But crucially, this isn't why we do it, you know?
Or we don't do it just for all the credit.
Thing is, if we got nothing but 1-star reviews, if we got 1,000 1-star reviews, if we woke up tomorrow and all we had were 1-star reviews, we would keep showing up.
Um, I'll just tell you right now, Lena Packman 9487 on YouTube. James and Billy, you've done an excellent job. 5-star review from Michigan. Thanks, guys.
Thank
That's on
you.
one of the, that's on the and then there was Conch Shell 99 gave us 10 out of 10 stars on YouTube. So, uh yeah, we asked, they delivered, So,
Look, so you guys have had
and
our backs, and now tonight we are gonna have yours with the
yeah, yeah,
best fucking episode.
yeah. I was trying to think of some gimmicks to like fill out the time because we wanted to make it like an insanely long episode because for some reason our longest episode has been our most viewed or listened to. So we made a, but I ended up I gave up gave over an hour of our time by trying to set up a new router here in my extremely rural home. And that backfired. Took us off the air for an hour. So we're up against the 8 ball with time. So it'll be a normal episode, but
Well, we don't know. We'll
we
see
don't
what.
know where the spirit takes
Why
us.
don't you
But
why don't you contextualize where we're at? We're doing a Voice of Jeffrey MacDonald chapter. It is the final chapter of part one. What happened right
yeah,
before?
well, right before we had, as if you're binging, you probably heard it a few minutes ago. But if you didn't, um, fucking Grebner became the main character of the book for like about 2 paragraphs.
Yep.
Stepped to the counter to the bar at the officers club, and then he heard that he was contemplating about how he was going to make some more progress on the continued interrogations, and then he found out that the provost marshal announced nationwide that McDonald was a suspect, and he knew he would never talk to him ever again, and he never did.
So the April 6th interrogation is over,
It's
and now
over.
we're gonna hear from, and now Jeff
Yeah,
has been announced publicly as a subject, which means that Jeff might be changing his approach.
and interestingly, the last time we were in a Voice of Jeff chapter, we didn't ever have him say, "Oh, this is what excuse me, April 6th felt like to me." He
Oof.
stopped with that was close.
You're gonna get dragged in the comments.
That's just we're gonna probably be swatted soon. Um, just that he was gonna be at Yale for his residency, the farm, and Colette and I were finally in love again now that we're at Fort Bragg. So then we're gonna jump directly into Voice of Jeff chapter, which brings us to the end of the entire part one, uh, where he's reflecting on his afternoon after the interrogation. So this is also brilliant framing by Joe because he could have told Jeff's entire story about how unfair April 6th was to him, but instead he's just letting him pick up what happens next and bring you to the conclusion.
Hey, do you see how you're raising your hand on Zoom and
Yeah,
it's just not going
yeah.
away?
Isn't that fucked up?
It's just there now.
Yeah, you have to call on me. All right. Oh yeah. We use Zoom to record this. I know that's the real podcast bros use have like a whole studio.
No, we're gonna be investing all the money.
Yeah, yeah. All the money. Yeah. So if you're reading along with us at home, you're on after the voice of Jeffrey MacDonald as it shows up after chapter 10 of part one of Fatal Vision.
We got one, two, three. Well, we have different
Yeah,
pages.
with different editions, so I don't know the exact page count we're talking here, but yeah, let's go for it. I'll take us into this and then Billy will take us out.
Okay.
All right, the voice of Jeffrey MacDonald. I went back to my office that afternoon and I got there shortly before closing, and the office was like very, very expectant because everyone, of course, knew where I had been. Everyone watched me when I came in, and I tried to hold my most professional air. My buttons were lined up and my belt was at the right, position, lining up with my fly and the buttons above. Hmm. And I walked directly into my office and closed the door. Then at about 5 o'clock, I decided what I would do was, instead of going out that night to eat in a normal restaurant or something, I would just go over to the officer's mess, the single officer's mess. And I did do that. I was by myself. I went to the officer's mess right in the middle of the special forces area, and I got on a cafeteria line and got a tray of food, which I wasn't hungry for. And I remember standing in line, and they had a loudspeaker, a speaker system with music. And I'll never forget this. I was standing in line getting food, and I had just gotten through the cash register area and was beginning to sit down when they had a news bulletin that Captain Jeffrey MacDonald, the Green Beret officer from Fort Bragg, who 6 weeks earlier had claimed that his wife and children were brutally beaten and stabbed by four hippies, was himself today named chief suspect. And I remember that truly. I don't mean to use cliches, but I don't know how else to explain it. The room was spinning again.
Okay, so on the end of the literally the preceding page,
Mhm.
um, we see the moment that Grebner hears that same bulletin.
Yeah.
So now we're seeing Jeff. hearing it
Yeah,
in Jeff's
yeah.
telling of it.
And he's not, and obviously at a different club. He's at the office, a different club
Yeah,
than Grebner was at.
yeah.
It'd be awkward if they were at the same place.
Hey, man.
Hey man. I was It was an incredibly strange feeling to be in this room with a tray of food, beginning to sit down, and like the room stopped and everyone was looking at me and pointing, and sort of most of them trying to be unobtrusive. And and the bulletin was going on that the doctor who had been treated at the hospital for multiple wounds in a statement released just moments earlier by the Fort Bragg Public Information Office was named as the chief suspect in the case and that he would be confined to quarters or something like that. So I remember sitting there and thinking, well, now what do I do? Here I was listening to a newscast about myself, and there were probably, 100 to 200 people in the room, sort of semi watching me. And I certainly wasn't confined to quarters or anything, yet the whole thing was incredibly bizarre. And I also was angry because I sort of just had left the CID and there was no mention of this type of thing, a press release of an actual statement that I was the suspect. I had been left with the impression that they hadn't solved the case and they were looking at everyone again and they needed some answers from me because the nitwits had never talked to me. Is that your impression of that transcript
Yeah.
that we
I
spent the last month reading?
yeah, they just wanted to clear a few things up with him.
Yeah, that was my impression of that, how that day went. It's like those stupid idiots that never even decided to talk to me. And they just had to look at everything again. There's yeah, there was nothing that I would have made me a suspect. Certainly didn't sit in there weeping for hours. Um, all right, I'll take us to the end of the section.
So
So I
did
didn't
Jeff
fit.
did Jeff just think that your dad hadn't heard the April 6th tape or something?
That doesn't make any. Well, yeah, at this point, he knows that Joe was in the courtroom and listened to it with the jury when it was played.
Yeah.
So maybe he was hoping that um, Joe wouldn't get access to the tape later and that he could sort of
You're just
use like
fudging it a bit.
mind trickery to sort of trick Joe into thinking, yeah, it was just the nitwits. What did they say? Anyway, as he will later say in his lawsuit, this is supposed to be my book and Joe's words. So he's just dictating to Joe what to say, and Joe decided not to put the whole transcript in. So I didn't finish eating. He just really wanted us to know that he had no appetite. Yeah, that establishes how upset he was. I sort of got up and put the tray where it belonged and went out and started driving back to my BOQ. And I got back to the BOQ and there were MPs. There were several, like five around the building and one inside the building in front of my door.
Huh. Section break.
Section break. You're gonna get like a Dark Night of the Soul narrative next. Like, and
We could get into the history of the Dark Knight of the
yeah,
whole Saint John of the Cross and how it's actually when your concepts of God no longer suffice and you have to hurl yourself into the abyss of your unknowing.
yeah, it's a purgation of all the little things that you've come to rely on to make you feel close to your higher power are removed from you to move you deeper into your faith.
Right. So that is that
So
about to happen?
well, I think yeah, he's gonna face a lot of self-doubt.
All right.
Um, yeah, so he's gonna lose everything he loves, Italian restaurants and whatever. So you take us into the night.
Do you think he ever heard that Billy Joel song
I
about
think
the
it
scenes
wouldn't
from
have.
the Italian He would have been in prison when that came out.
What year did that come out? We have the internet. A
Well,
bottle of red.
bottle of white.
Scenes from an Italian restaurant. 1977. Nope, that
Oh,
was out.
you
Oh,
probably got to hear it.
he was playing it on his uh his home stereo system in Huntington Beach, I'm sure, for many years.
Huntington
So,
Beach.
isn't that where you lived?
Yeah, when I
Where the
was look
condo was.
well, when I was looking at our Spotify analytics today, we have listeners in Huntington Beach.
That's odd.
Hmm.
At least we know that he's not there.
It's not him, right?
No, no,
Okay.
he's not there. Yeah, maybe like time traveling or something, but
Some
that's weird. That's
neighbors
maybe, yeah, maybe his neighbors were just hanging out there. Same neighbors. 40.
firing up the pod.
Yeah. Hey, if you're in Huntington Beach and you're listening, tell us who you are and what you're doing. Oh, we
Fatalvisionpodcast at gmail.com.
there is actually a member of the Facebook group who walks past St. Mary's Hospital every day, she said. And there
Okay.
was another member who actually knew him or was worked with him or near him
He was a
when he was
great, said he
the
was a
hot
great
shot.
surgeon. Yeah.
Yeah, but a real creep to the girls apparently.
All right, I'm going back into the voice here.
Yeah.
Am I just bringing it home or?
Well, you certainly can. Yeah, this is it. It's straight you, straight you.
All right.
So build it.
That night, let me start again.
All right.
That night was a very bad night, an absolutely bone-chilling, unbelievable, and indescribable feeling of depression and nothingness. And it's the best thing I can say is it seems to me that it's death. It must be what death is like, although death must be a little more peaceful than this. This was a turmoil that's beyond belief, a mental turmoil with images and with the weight of a depression adding to it that you're really unable to describe. But I remember thinking for what seemed an eternity about suicide and actually looking up, measuring visually the height of the pipes that were hanging from the ceiling in my room and whether or not I could commit suicide using a sheet or belts or something, and feeling that it seemed ludicrous, it seemed melodramatic. It seemed like it again wouldn't change anything and it would probably fail. It was probably going to be a nothing type attempt. And I could just see the guard outside the door rushing in and reviving me, and then being this incredibly ludicrous situation of a failed suicide attempt the day you've been called the chief suspect in the murder of your family, which of course everyone would immediately take to mean that, well, he did it and that's why he was trying to commit suicide. And in fact, that wasn't it at all. It was the incredible obtuseness and meaninglessness of first the loss and second these accusations. So that night was spent, alone looking at the ceiling. The desk light was on most of the night. I think all of the night. The paint in the room was a crummy paint. As a matter of fact, it was light green. The ceiling was white, but it was now an off-white, a gray white, really, from dirt. And the paint was peeling, the pipes were peeling, and I remember thinking that if I looped my belt over it, there was going to be paint chips all over everything. I thought a lot that night, specifically on purpose, about Colette and Kim and Christy. And this sounds silly, and it's sort of even embarrassing to say, but I remember I kept thinking how, like, Colette would be angry. She would be very almost self-righteous if she were able to hear what these nitwits were now saying I was a suspect in. And I was like, having a conversation with Colette, and she was saying, I know you tried, and believe me, that's all I ask. And I was, telling her I was sorry. And she's saying, but you couldn't help it. It happened. And what's worse now is these jerks are now saying that you did it. She said, I could tell them otherwise. And, you know, Kimmy and Christy and I know differently. So don't worry about it. And so at about that time, when I was really in solitude and in this deepest of depressions and trying to wrestle with what what was happening and why it was happening and what to do, dawn came up. It was a feeling of rebirth that I've had many times before, like when I used to work all night on Fire Island driving a cab.
Mhm.
And when dawn came up, you were charged with this new energy despite being sleepless for like 24 hours. That's what happened here. The dawn came up, and all of a sudden, a lot of the super depression and gloom and suicide thoughts just absolutely melted away. The light of the day truly brought a new dawn, and what it brought me was an anger. It was almost like the sun was firing me and infused me with an energy to fight. And I remember saying, and I even have a recollection that it may have been out loud, it may have been thinking, but I have this feeling that I almost said this one thing out loud after this long, long night, and that was, fuck them. They're not gonna get me. They're not gonna make me commit suicide, and they're not gonna convict me of something that I didn't do, this outrageous thing. And I said, fuck them. I will fight. And around 8:15 or 8:30, in fresh pressed khakis and my jump boots with my little satchel briefcase under my arm, I went over to the Judge Advocate General's office and I walked in, and the office was a long, thin office with multiple people at different desks typing. And I walked in, and there was a female secretary at the front, and I said, I'm Captain MacDonald, and I'm here to see about getting a lawyer. And the whole world stopped in that room. Like every typewriter stopped, and every head turned to me. And there was this moment of suspended animation. And I remember being a little imperious about it. Imperial, I guess, is a better word. I sort of stood taller than before. And I said, maybe you didn't hear. I'm Captain MacDonald, and I'm here to see about an attorney. End of part one.
End of
Now,
part one, end of season one. Yeah.
okay, so
Phew.
there was really no point at which I could stop and offer commentary through that
No,
whole,
no, no,
because
no. You,
I think we needed to hear the whole thing together,
yeah.
because what becomes clear to me as we're going as we make our way toward the end, this again is the book that Jeff is trying to get Joe to write.
Right.
Because it's incredibly cinematic. It's the tragic accused hero victim tossing and turning. He hears the voice of the
A visitation.
he has a visitation from the slain
Yeah.
wife who tells him that he's going to be okay. And then as the sun comes up, he realizes that they're not going to get him. And then he marches in and he says, I'm Captain McDonald. I'm here to see about an attorney. And everybody in the room turns their head in shock.
Their jaws are dropping left and right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's totally cinematic,
Um,
melodramatic.
Well,
Is that
and
the
then so it's
longest quote that he's offered from Colette?
yeah, only in death. Yeah. Um, that he attributed to her. He's basically exonerating himself through her mental talk in his head. We know you didn't do it.
We know you tried.
Yeah, you tried. Um, so that's already sort of like, well, tried at what? Like, tried not to kill us? Like, it wasn't your fault. It was my fault for questioning you. Um, well, so you have that incredible cinematic scene, sure, and then you also have the one where it's the same thing where 200 people are staring at him in the mess hall. Um,
Yeah.
and everyone's just pointing and staring, and then the whole the horrible MPs are waiting for him back at the BOQ. Um, I just something that crossed my mind is when he's the feeling of righteous anger coming over him as energizing him, and how that is the only emotion he's had around any of this since this since April 6th, 1970. He's only been able to express anger
Yeah.
at his persecutors.
Yeah.
And that gave him that's there's only reason to live. You'll see, even his people the great defenders of McDonald will be like, oh well, his anger got the best of him on Dick Cavett. His anger got the best of him at the trial. His anger got the best of him at the grand jury. His anger got the best of him, um, but basically any time it mattered. And he mouthed off and got belligerent. And McDonald himself would later try to say, "I had a right to be angry, but it certainly didn't help me stay out of prison."
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're going to be a defender, as many people are and should be, because it's important to give both sides equal weight. Sure, yeah, he's just angry because it's not fair. And does it make sense for the anger for these bullshit accusations to completely repeal and replace any grief he's ever had for the entire family being wiped out
Hmm.
and repealing and replace any anger he has toward the actual killers?
The
Because
use
I'm
of repeal and replace is killing me.
it's like there's no anger towards Stokely even when she's caught, just toward Murtaugh. Like let's stab effigies of Murtaugh all day. Um,
Yeah.
the whole thing is so perverse. It's just, and that's why it's so fascinating. Uh, and what do you think of Joe just using, I know we have your boy out there who's just read the whole book and it's pretty neutral about whether he did
Well,
it or not.
98%.
98's decent, I guess, but
Not bad.
if you're going in and you read that, you're like, shit, man. You think anybody gets pumped up reading that? Fuck yeah, like get up and fight. Like, don't just go down without a fight. Um,
I mean, Fatal Vision is a work of art, man.
yeah.
I don't think it's straightforwardly polemical. I don't think
Mm-mm.
every chapter is designed to persuade us of the guilt of
Mm-mm.
Jeff
No.
McDonald. I mean, clearly, I think Joe, with great skill, allows the narrative of the story to sort of chug along alongside Jeff's version, Jeff's self-mythologizing. And part of the creepiness of the book is in the contrast, but that's also part of what makes the book so illuminating in terms of the particular psyche we're dealing with.
So And one of the things I just as you were I was listening to your insights and struck
Yeah.
by,
Yeah, thanks.
yeah, of course, it was amazing.
Mm.
Was this story, um, and where it is in the book, and then how we're going to read, and I think part three maybe, where one of the first times Kassab becomes to definitively doubt McDonald is telling him the truth is when he reads this exact same story as it's told to a Newsday reporter in 1970 about thinking about killing himself on the pipes. And Fred says, well, he had by his own account, he slept with a pistol. Why is he thinking about hanging himself all night? And that's one of his most, that's when he started really thinking, this guy's just full of shit. And
Yeah.
so in the dramatic tension of the book, that's not, we don't have that yet. But the, and if we're going to take the mystery even deeper, J Kassab had said that story to reporters for years and years and years as the most agreed, easily accessible, the turning point for when he realized Jeff was a liar and he would lie. If he would lie about this, he would lie about anything. And
Yeah.
and so Jeff obviously is aware that Fred has always been saying that he knows that the story is bullshit. And then here he is, anyways, after the conviction, telling it again to Joe, trying to get it in the book.
Right.
10 years later, after the first time he's told it.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, it would make a
So
hell of
it's like, doesn't matter what Fred's, it's like the same thing. It doesn't matter what lies he gets caught in. He will never admit to lying about anything unless it was actually on a tape recording that he was late, saying he killed someone and buried them in the woods.
yeah.
Um,
That comes
so
later,
like,
yeah.
yeah, that comes later, but so he can't admit that there was no Russia trip. He still won't admit that. There was a trip to Russia, a boxing trip to Russia. There's just, even though it's been proven not to be the case. And then he'll never admit that he wasn't thinking about hanging himself in the chipped paint, even though he had a gun, a loaded gun under his pillow. Um, so that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very neat, clean, dramatic chapter for the hero of the book Jeff's trying to write.
Jeff the tortured innocent.
Jeff the tortured innocent. He spends exactly one night thinking about killing himself, and the spirit of Colette tells him to fight. The sun comes up, and he is infused with the righteous fury and the power that derives from it to fight his tormentors.
And the way he walks into the Jag and like as he likes to call himself, a god, a hero god type figure, where everyone is just in awe of him and they're struck dumb.
Yeah.
Um, like what?
You're gonna
If they
fight
couldn't,
this? You're gonna get a
yeah,
lawyer?
you're getting a lawyer? No way. Thought you were just gonna like lay it down. And then listen, I don't think you heard me. Like that would be the perfect way to end a scene if in the
Yeah.
Fatal Vision movie is told by Jeffrey MacDonald.
Oh, we should create that
The Create the Fatal Vision movie
as
as told by
told as
Jeff.
told by yeah, what
Yeah.
just or just
Yeah.
have the alternate version kind of
Yeah. Go and
interspersed.
yeah, have the whole thing. We should come up with a whole like bizarre timeline of everything that happened if McDonald and with Jeff's version.
Jeff's
Um,
version. Yeah.
yeah, Jeff's version. He's reclaiming it and rewriting it.
It's an act of reclamation.
Oh, so empowering. Beautiful stuff. Yeah, so I would start there. I would start with the Jag, and we'll have to just go from there. We'll have to see what else we got.
This
So
would have
we'll
to
what
be
are,
like a X-rated HBO prestige kind of thing though.
Oh, you actually want to get it shot on film? Yeah, then it would have to be
Yeah.
straight to a streaming service with the TVMA rating.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
the whole Penny series.
Oh, that's because that's all he thinks about is Penny, and then it's going to be Joy, Candy, and someone else in there, Bobby, I think.
Yeah.
The whole slew of 70s
Well, now
girls.
you got me thinking about the woman he's going to get engaged to while he's in prison and the contract he's going to write up about how they have
Oh, yes.
purest, most beautiful love. Like
It's the
our love is just the envy of the world.
Yeah, and then he was planning on having more kids with her, but boys this time. Yeah, pretty good stuff.
Yeah. So
But
it's the theme is clear. Like any account of himself he offers has to be epic, amazing. Like people need to be in
yeah,
awe of
I
him.
mean, if you look at the now defunct, or when I found all those old 2000s era McDonald pages, McDonald Defense League or whatever, like they had they would ha like the page was just structured and centered around a memorial to and this is going to be fly over the heads to our new listeners, but this guy named Jimmy Britt, and like the man who had the strength to tell the truth,
Mm.
and as if that's like the same thing, this alternate history, like Jimmy Britt's going to change everything. Like he finally someone stepped forward and forced yet another appeal on everybody on the legal system
Yeah.
with so-called new evidence, an affidavit. Um, so yeah, right now we've got seems like we have the floor to ourselves though. There's nobody really coming for us. I did scare Billy the other day with a fake doctored screenshot it was a death threat we got that never actually happened. It's from a blocked sender saying, "Stop the podcast, or there will be consequences." Um, yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
but we got an email from Kevin, our friend
our
Kevin.
boy. Yeah,
Oh my God. A photo of our friend Kevin, big Fatal Vision podcast fan. Been a help to the show actually with some of
yeah.
his research. Sent us a photo of himself on the Notre Dame boxing team, an authentic member of a boxing team.
There is actually such a thing as being on a boxing team, and
Yep.
when it's not just an excuse to cheat on your wife.
Take a lot of escatrol and get weak.
Yeah, yeah. I get really, really, really ripped. Um, and then while we're talking about friends of the pod,
Yeah, I mean, this
yeah,
is the final episode of the season, so might as
yeah.
well.
So yeah, well, I'll just Matt Zoni did shoot me an iMessage knowing we were coming onto this chapter, pointing out that when Bill Ivory wrote a self-published memoir in the 2010s, there's a reference to another officer who did commit suicide by hanging himself on the pipes in the room of the
Oh, that's
BOQ.
where Jeff got the idea.
So Jeff was sort of absorbing the idea of the story into um into that. Um,
Well, yeah, it's the same thing he did with
it was 1969. Yeah.
it's the same thing he did with the four intruders. He just described four people he met out at the bar with Jay, like
Yeah,
months before.
and then took this acid queen character out of Esquire and made her decided to make the woman the ringleader queen, like ordering hit him again, groovy. Uh,
Man.
yeah, so it's been a long road. We made a lot of friends, and we've had a lot of old friends come out of our out of the ether to proclaim their love for the cast, and
Yeah.
yeah, I dare say that we've become friends ourselves in the process with each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah. Our friendship was pretty
S-
weak for a
Yeah,
while.
very weak, and it's been somewhat strengthened. At times it's been weakened, but it's part of the path. Any final jokes or weird, stupid ideas that we want to throw out in the last couple seconds here? Like, if this was like a real low rent podcast, would we have like a lightning round? Like, if you were Jeff, would you like peanut butter or jelly? Like,
Oh
yeah,
man.
if AI was writing the podcast. Oh, I was sitting here, I was driving today, and I was like, oh man, something funny happened last time we recorded about a flickering floppy hat. And then I was like, oh wait, that was the AI
Yeah.
version.
Yeah. Yeah. The hat was flickering. Yeah, man. I mean, how does part two begin?
Part two um is going to be primarily on what's known as the Article 32 hearing.
Oh boy.
So it's actually his finest hour in terms of legal victories.
Wow. Well,
Um,
we know our people won't want to miss that.
no, they will be all over that. Here's a if you could ask one question at the Article 32 hearing, but it had to be in rhyme, what would it be? It's so bad.
Um, yeah, I'm not going to answer
I'm
that.
not, yeah, yeah.
You asked it for a
Uh,
lightning round of,
I said 10 stupid lightning round questions for the Fatal Vision podcast season finale. Um, that was it. And then I asked it to give me some answers because I can't think of a question in rhyme. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. It's really it's coming up with really weird stuff that I don't know where it's getting this from.
yeah, it's okay, man. It's
Yeah.
okay.
All
Um,
right.
well, I'm very grateful to be on this journey.
Yeah.
Even my mom said a nice thing about it earlier today.
Really?
But
She listened to one episode once
no,
or
she didn't listen to anything.
oh, okay. She's
But
just proud that we're doing this.
she denies ever calling it a snooze fest.
Well,
She says she didn't say that.
she says it sounds like it would be a snooze fest.
Oh,
That's what
okay.
she said. She hadn't actually sampled it yet, but we were sitting in this very room the day after Thanksgiving, and she said, it sounds like it's going to be a snooze fest. And that hurt. You think our own families would show some support. Um,
I wish people
but
thought about us more.
I just generally wish more people thought about us more and the podcast and thought about it and talked about it and wrote about it. But we're getting there very slowly.
Yeah.
And
All right. So
yeah, yeah.
we have our takeaways for the night. We have Jeff again is self-mythologizing. We have he's writing the book that he's telling Joe what book to write. He's creating cinematic scenes where he gets to be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter how many times these stories get contradicted by the objective reality, by the evidence.
No,
He's just
yeah.
gonna keep
He's
he's
stuck on
just gonna
him.
keep doing it.
Stuck on him. Fucking great, man.
And there's something. so gross about his invoking the spirit of the wife he killed
Yeah, I have to
in
say
this
that
scene.
that's personally extremely upsetting.
Yeah,
The lack of remorse is so profound that there's no you can't he will happily just shred her legacy actively to give himself a little bit of a more dramatic scene in his biography.
yeah. He's a very damaged guy.
So, yeah, let's remember Colette tonight, Kristen, Kimberly,
Yeah.
and as they are, as they were, and will forever be. Because much unlike Jeff, I know that there's life goes on, and that they're in a place of light and love, and Jeff is in the worst possible fucking place a person can be right now.
All right. Thank you. Season one. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Good night.